Welcome to Let's Face the Facts, the rewatch podcast for the classic sitcom, The Facts of Life. Join us each week as we synopsize, analyze, criticize, and ultimately idolize the show. And now, here's your host of Let's Face the Facts, the wonderful David Almeida.
Thank you, Matthew Arter. Welcome back, guys. It's another week, another show. Thank you for downloading and pressing play. This week, Matthew and I welcome actor-improviser Dan Johnson to the show. Dan and I work together at Universal Studios, but you may have seen him on your TV screen or even in the movies. We talk about that in the Getting to Know You segment. But before we do that, we discuss Season 7, Episode 24, called The Apartment. And it had an original air date of May 10th, 1986. I think we're ready to jump on in. Let's face the facts with Dan Johnson. Dan Johnson, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
We have been working together off and on, and more on than off these days, at the wonderful horror makeup show at Universal Studios, sharing the stage. Shameless plug, yeah. They need the business. Really, won't you please, for just the price of a cup of coffee,
help out your fellow performers?
A $6 cup of coffee, and if you order 90 of them, you can enjoy a trip to Universal Escape. Remember that? That whole plot was going
Somebody
on?
just posted a video. I think James Keaton just posted that video of Universal Escape promo that he did. Yeah.
When they were trying to post it as...
I think he posted it yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, I got to go see that. So, boys, you ready to talk about this piece of crap?
Yes.
When I asked you earlier before we started recording, Dan, I said, did you watch the episode? And would you like to tell everyone how you replied?
Yeah, I just want to let everyone know that I hate David so much right now for making me watch that show.
Yeah.
But I've suffered through worse. It's okay. I got through it.
Mm-hmm. He has to perform with me on stage and watch that. So
the sad thing is that I used to watch this show regularly when I was a kid. I used to love it.
Did you?
I
really?
haven't seen it since then. Yeah, I haven't seen the show since then. But I used to watch it pretty regularly. Yeah.
On the Nick at Night, or are you
regular TV?
Oh, I perceive we've talked about our ages. I perceive that you're at least a decade younger than I am. You don't have to tell your age, but
I'm 50.
Oh, okay. I'm 53. That is, I take it back.
So yeah, I mean, I grew up. That was one of the shows I grew up with. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So as a young straight boy growing up, this was really, you were not the target demographic. How did that come to be?
Yeah. It was just, I don't know if it was because of the show that was on before or after, which I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just always seemed to be in my lineup of shows that I watched. I had kind of a crush on Tootie as a kid.
Oh, interesting.
I did.
Say...
There was a girl in my class when I was in third grade that had braids and braces when young Tootie, not like the mid 80s Tootie.
Yeah.
But like the younger Tootie. She reminded me of her. So yeah, I had kind of a crush on Tootie when I was a kid.
I don't know that it's fair to say, well, you weren't the demographic. I mean, it's not like there was an ultimate choice that you had in the mat. Like, I wasn't the demographic for the Golden Girls, but little gay Matthew was here for it. and because 227,
that was a show I couldn't get into.
But 227 and Amen, not exactly the demographic for that either, but it was what was on, for Christ's sake. It was either that or fucking Quincy.
And I didn't have cable, so I didn't have cable until I left for college. So I was stuck with whatever was on, the big three networks as a kid. So that was
exactly.
Well, chances are you got into it when it was really building its audience in the early 80s, when it was on after Real People, because Real People was
Different
very
Strokes.
popular.
I watched regularly, and that was because it was a spinoff of Different Strokes, wasn't it?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So Different Strokes is another show that I watched, regularly as well. So I think that was why I watched it, because it was either on before or after Different Strokes.
It was for a while, it was after Different Strokes, but the bulk of its tenure on network television was first after Real People, then after Highway to Heaven, God bless us. And then when it moved to Saturdays, where it is as of this episode, it's where it is on after Give Me a Break. And then is followed by Golden Girls and 227.
Interesting.
So that's a solid Saturday sitcom lineup.
I know it was the Real People thing. I think it was the Real People, because Real People is another show that I watched a lot.
Oh, yes. Great show. So, so let's get to talking about this particular episode, season 7, episode 24, called The Apartment, from May 10th of 1986. And I got to tell you, there's already scandal and discrepancies here. Last week, we had an issue where they had edited out a song for the DVD release. And that song can be found streaming and in the basically the bootlegs you find online, but not on the DVD release from the studio. Well, in this episode, everywhere you look, it is listed as The Apartment, like the Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine movie from the mid-50s. But Pluto TV has it listed as Apartment Life.
Yes.
What the fuck is that? Apartment life. I mean, that's not a term or a phrase. Is that referring to something that I'm just not thinking of?
I don't know.
Okay. The fact that the two of you aren't going, David, for Christ's sake, you don't know what apartment.
This was my reintroduction into the show after 40 years. So yeah,
a little bit.
Side note, I want to thank you for introducing me to Pluto TV.
You're welcome.
Isn't it great?
So as we talked about before the show, I was sitting at home watching TV. I was watching the 80s music video channel all day long today. I think that's one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
It's like watching TV again, like when we were kids, because it is a live stream and other people are watching it at the same time.
Like, I never had cable as a kid, so I never had MTV. So I would always go to my friend's house and just beg them, please let me watch MTV. Because I never, I was never around really in my home with the music, with MTV and the music videos. So I sat at home just watching, what's her name? Lisa Stansfield and Paula Abdul. And Janet Jackson all day long. It was awesome.
Good. I'm glad. That makes me very happy. Well, this episode, Dan, you don't realize, I don't think, that there are some important landmarks happening in this. In that, number one, it is the season finale of season 7.
Yeah, a weird way to end the season, by the way.
You think? Yeah. Fuck me. It's awful.
Not much of a cliffhanger. Normally, it's supposed to be a cliffhanger, right?
Well, the last episode was a cliffhanger. That little recap you saw at the beginning was that was the cliffhanger. And the reason why I didn't make you, I had Jen Gannon on doing the first half of it. The reason why I didn't make it one guest do both halves, which I would be more inclined to do.
Thank you for not having me do that.
You're welcome. They both stand alone. I'm like, why did they even make this a two-parter? It was really very weird. But yeah, the recap you saw at the beginning literally is everything you needed to know. And thank God you didn't have to watch everything else that happened in last week's show, because it was Tootie's graduation and it was not fun. But this episode also is the final episode where Charlotte Rae is a regular cast member. In trying to reduce her role, wanted to eventually step away, and this was the end of her tenure there. Starting with season 8, episode 1, we get Cloris Leachman taking the place of the matriarch on the show. And
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And Charlotte Rae is on the first 2. It's a 2-parter that starts season 8. And it's where Mrs. Garrett gets married and moves away. But those have Cloris Leachman in the opening credits. But at the beginning of the episode, a special appearance by Charlotte Rae. Sadly, we do not have Mackenzie Aston or George Clooney in this episode. We typically really enjoy them and what they bring to the show. You realize, Matthew, we've already done 13 of Clooney's 17 episodes. We only have 4 more Clooney appearances.
That makes me want to walk directly into the ocean.
So have you done every episode up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Including The Facts of Life Go to Paris.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And in the early days of the podcast, I said, I know once we get to Over Our Heads, I know it's going to be a slog. And I was right.
You are absolutely not correct, David. It has been joyous and colorful and delightful.
I'm loving the aesthetic. The aesthetic is making me very happy. The 80s tasticness I did not appreciate at the time, but the scripts. Ooh. And speaking of scripts,
the shoulder pads.
Yes.
By the way, why does Natalie look like a linebacker in that show?
Oh my God. It's costuming.
They really overdid it with the shoulder pads for Natalie.
Yeah. And Joe has one where you can tell she's got 2 layers of them on. You can tell it's a shirt with shoulder pads and then an over cardigan. God. Also with she's starting to look like Nurse Diesel. Speaking of Cloris Leachman, looking like Nurse Diesel from High Anxiety. But yeah, so speaking of writing, this episode was written by Jane Anderson. This is her first IMDb credit, and it's her first of 3 episodes that she will write for The Facts of Life. But she would go on to write movies like It Could Happen to You. That's the Nicolas Cage, Bridget Fonda winning the lottery movie. She adapted How to Make an American Quilt in the 1990s. She has 3 Emmy Awards. She won one in 1993 for writing The Positively True Adventures of the Alleged Texas Cheerleader Murdering Mom.
Oh my God.
Is anyone from The Facts of Life in that movie? We have to watch that, Matthew.
No, we absolutely don't.
But she won an Emmy for writing it. I mean, it's got to have something. Anyway. And then in 2015, she won 2 Emmys. Both of them were for Olive Kitteridge, which is a limited series that's on HBO, was a 4-part miniseries. And she wrote and produced it. So she won an Emmy for writing, as well as it did take, I think, Best Limited Series. So she got the Emmy for producing. So this is 3-time Emmy Award winner Jane Anderson's script. And John Boab is the director. John is the in-house director. Dan, he's been directing all but 2 episodes this season. So he's old faithful, old reliable. So, Dan, now is the time when we like to put our guest on the spot and ask you if you would provide a 1 to 2 sentence synopsis of the entire episode, similar to what you might find in a TV guide listing. And brevity is key here. So ready, set, and go.
I guess the moral, the only thing I can think of after watching this is that the moral of the story is don't move out and try to, live your own life.
Okay.
They're going to move out and start their own lives and do their own thing. And then they discover after a week and a half that they can't handle it. So now we'll just go back to where it's safe. I was like, oh, wow, that's a horrible lesson. Don't follow your dreams, people. You're going to end up, in a rotten place with rotten people, and just stay home. Stay home and stay safe.
Bravo, sir. Interesting. You were taking a thematic approach as opposed to just a simple plot approach, but that's okay. That's fine.
All right, here it is. This is wrapped up in a sentence. Sitcom life is a lie.
Okay. Ding, ding, ding. There it is. That's all we needed to hear. Tells us everything we know. So we're going to get into the microscopic dissection now. We start with a little bit of a recap of the previous episode where we see Natalie announce to everybody that she is moving out. And then Tootie basically invites herself along and says, I'm moving in with you.
Yes.
Yeah. What should have happened is Natalie, who has never been at a loss for being blunt and telling it like it is. Should have just turned and said no and walked off the stage, and we would have been fine. Totally fine. But the important thing that they do recap, though, is that because Tootie has been on an audition where the director told her she needed to have lived more. She's still too young. He wants to see more grit. So that's why she says, that's what he was talking about, the grit. Natalie, I'm moving in with you. So,
well, Daniel, it's important for you to know the director told her that she needed more grit for the role of Dorothy in The Wiz.
Because that's what I think of when I see Diana Ross in that movie.
Yeah. And I mean,
grit.
You know, they adapted it to make Dorothy older. Dorothy in the stage play is 16, just like Judy Garland. It's yeah, I need more grit from this 16-year-old girl from a farm in Kansas. Anyway, we won't go there. But the action of this episode then begins in the living room. We have Tootie and Natalie coming down the stairs with packed up boxes. Natalie suddenly has a gigantic, heavy electric typewriter. In the past, we've seen her with a manual portable. I know, yeah, those were, every office had one of those. My dad had an office supply business, so I was surrounded by your IBM Selectrics and those things.
My mom was a writer, so she had one of those in our house. Yeah.
And it weighs a metric fucking ton. Yeah.
I would like to say that I noticed, maybe it was this way in the last episode, but I didn't notice, Tootie and Joe now have the same hair.
Oh, yeah, Tootie's getting mulletier. She is, totally. That's absolutely happening. So speaking of Joe, she and Blair are sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast, offering to help, but Tootie and Natalie are like, nope, we've got it. And they're like, well, guess this is goodbye. And Natalie, thankfully, does say, well, you're still going to see us at the shop. I'm like, good, because I was wondering that. They all together are partners in the store over our heads. And it's like, oftentimes it's like, who's watching the store right now? Well, we got no Clooney, we got no Andy, we got barely Mrs. Garrett. And it's, yeah, at least they acknowledge that they technically still all own a business together. It's not moving out and goodbye. Maybe we'll have lunch sometime.
But where did they move to? They made it seem like they had moved to fucking Brooklyn.
Yeah.
which bothered me later because I was like, excuse me, Joe, from the Bronx.
Yeah.
You're going to walk into this dumpster fire and get all hoity-toity. Back off, Jackie O. Let's take a look at where the fuck you live. Anyway, but so I'm not going to be Debbie Downer on this episode. I'm not.
No, you're not. I can tell. No, you're not, because you love it so much. There is the question of where is Mrs. Garrett in this episode? She came back from Appleton, we presume. They keep talking about farm. It's, her family farm in Appleton, Wisconsin. She was back at the party where this announcement was made. She came home to Peekskill for Tootie's graduation, but now it's like, where is she? There's no mention of her. There's no nothing. Later, we do find out she's back there, but at this point, it's just like, okay. So it is kind of weird that nobody else is in this episode. So when we do go back and forth between the apartment and the house, it's just Blair and Joe. And it's like, and why did they need to move out again? Someone couldn't have just taken Mrs. Garrett's room, couldn't have moved up into the attic, which we know is habitable. But anyway, then we're at the apartment and the scene is sort of already in progress. They don't really give us a good establishing shot of the apartment. We're just kind of there. And I would have liked a good establishing shot because it takes us a little while to explore the whole space. And every single frame that reveals more is more appalling than the one before. Dan, how would you describe this, I'm making air quotes, apartment?
It's kind of like the home I'm living in right now. Yeah. I could relate to that, believe me.
Well, that's right. You've been going through a lot of renovations.
Doing a lot of
You're
home
like,
repairs and renovations. Yeah, and living in my bedroom right now because, I went for like a few months without walls and a ceiling. So
yeah, you're in a war-torn condo right now.
Yeah. So I definitely felt their pain.
Yeah, but even your condo doesn't look like it. It's like they tea stained the entire set.
Yeah, it looks like I don't know if you've ever worked on a cruise ship before.
I have not.
Okay, well, the crew bar, which is like a closet usually on cruise ships where the crew hangs out. And
Okay.
when I see, the whole crew, like a crew of 1,000 people, and a room that's about 20 feet by 20 feet, and they're all smoking. So the walls are permanently stained yellow from nicotine. That's what those walls reminded me of, was the crew bar on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
And they're sleeping on yoga mats.
I don't understand
what was that about?
Because they keep commenting that it's a studio apartment. It is one room. At one point, when Natalie is later showing the apartment to Blair and Joe, she kicks aside what looks like a big.
They look like yoga mats.
It looked like, or a big cushion. It
Oh,
wasn't
those
even
pads.
an inflatable. It was just a big thing, but it didn't look like it was big enough for two people. It looked like it was barely a twin size.
Well, it was two mats. It was two mats that were folded onto each other. They look like the mats that you sleep on in kindergarten,
Oh, okay. Maybe I didn't catch that they're stacked or something. It still doesn't look like a place where adults can sleep on a permanent, ongoing basis. I mean, they're young. I guess their bodies are more resilient than ours would be if we had to.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's everything has been distressed.
There's grit, and then there's living in squalor, which is what they were doing.
Yeah, even the shittiest apartment, they will slap a coat of paint over the toxic mold. They will paint the refrigerator. You know what I mean? It's like, at the very least, you'd think there would have been, it looked like there was some effort to conceal what a horrible shithole this apartment is.
Which has been described in the last episode by Natalie as, and I quote, a quiet apartment she found. She said, I found this quiet apartment. And again, it looks like it's Brooklyn, but she's supposed to be still working at the shop. But apparently she didn't have a shift at the shop all week because they were like, oh, at the end of the week, we should invite Natalie and Tootie, or we should invite Blair and Joe for dinner. And they act like they haven't seen them in 6 months. So apparently I was a little bit lost.
The other thing that's ongoing in this episode is Tootie and Natalie are both committed to this, which I guess is nice. They comment on the fact that there are bugs. Oh, we haven't cleaned out the refrigerator yet. That's why the refrigerator smells. Don't use the bathroom because we haven't killed everything in it yet. But you would think that there would have been some sense of conflict somewhere, especially since Natalie got the apartment and Tootie just tagged along. But even Tootie's just like, oh, this is an apartment. This is where we live now. La, la, la. I'm a rich girl with 2 lawyer parents from DC that's been going to a private girls' school since I was in 6th grade. And this place is a completely acceptable living arrangement. It's just needs a little zhuzhing, it's just like, oh, we just got to, hang up some curtains or something. It's so weird how they're aware of it, but they don't seem to be bothered by it. They're more bothered that they can't both exist in a room, that Natalie can't type and write while Tootie is rehearsing the Seagull for whatever fucking production that is. I don't know.
She's not in school anymore. She's not in college yet. So I don't know what she's doing.
Yeah. And Natalie left the house because she said, I cannot stand this place. There's only 17 rooms here. And every time I go anywhere, I hear somebody talking. So I need privacy. I need to be able to focus. So as soon as Tootie said, I'm moving in with you, Natalie could have and should have said, no, that's literally the antithesis of the reason why I'm moving out. And you, Tootie, are the loudest of the bunch, by the way. Anyway, it is so bizarre. Now, then we meet the upstairs neighbor, Estelle.
Who looked like she was in constant threat of a heart attack.
I mean, bless her heart.
She looked like she had trouble just walking into the room.
Well, she's in her 70s. She was not a young woman.
Okay.
And the actress's name is Lou Leonard. And I did look up the history of the cat lady. And the cat lady has existed in television and literature prior to this. But I'm thinking this might be one of the earliest, if not the first, depictions of the cat lady as the woman with the kerchief in her hair and always in a bathrobe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we never meet any of the cats. We know she have 4 or 5? 4?
I think she said
Did she ever say?
I think she said 5.
5. That sounds right. She's asking the girls, wondering if they want to go in halvesies on kitty litter. Cheaper to buy it in bulk. Interesting that when you think of the crazy cat lady, that is literally the look that I would have in my mind without realizing that it actually was
history. History is being made with that episode.
I think so too. I'm going to say that this is a landmark episode in the history of television and pop culture. So Estelle sits on down, makes herself at home. Funny running gag of the walls being so thin in this shithole. I'm going to keep using the word shithole, and I don't apologize for that.
No, don't.
She could hear everything through her floor of, oh, you're Tootie and you're Natalie, right? You're the writer, you're the actress, and blah, blah, blah. So she can hear everything. One of the better lines at the end of the scene as she's leaving. And she says, well, girls, if you need anything, just whisper. And she points upward. And I'm like, that's funny. That was a good joke. And she does say, have you met the super? No, he's a total sleazebag. You need anything done? Get a lawyer. And it's like, okay, we do meet the super later, but
which is a setup, obviously a setup, because we're never going to see him later on in the episode. But then when we finally see him, I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to see more sleaze. He was just kind of a dick.
Yeah. And I think they thought that his teasing up his hair was going to carry a lot of that performance, and didn't really. Yeah.
I was let down by the super. No.
Mm-hmm. So we were talking about this last week over Tootie's life. What is the game plan? What is happening here? This is the point in my notes when I was like, okay, she's rehearsing the seagull for what? She wants to be an actress, but she's not going to college to be an actress. She can't even get cast as Dorothy in The Wiz. Her parents live in DC. She's from DC. That, I imagine, would have more theater opportunities than Peekskill, New York, because we're on summer break now. She's not tethered to the Eastland School anymore. She is done and graduated. So it's like, why we talked before, her parents want her to be a lawyer. It's like, so why I'm not going to do it, and therefore I'm not going to go to college. Why not do a double major? Why not take your requireds and then think about it later when you have to pick a major? And
I kind of took her thing as just she's, out there getting ready for an audition for something.
Yeah, I guess so.
So
I
without having seen the whole storyline from season 1 on up to this point, I don't remember it when I was a kid, so I don't have any insight as to what her thinking was. And please don't make me research it.
I was just gonna say,
dear God, don't make me research it.
But at the same time, let's also talk about life plans. Natalie was going to travel. Natalie's deliberately not going to college because of wanting to pursue her writing and taking time off. And she was working a whole bunch of odd jobs through a temp agency while simultaneously being a partner in the store. Now at this point, it's like, okay, between the store and you need to work, Tootie, I don't know where, I don't imagine the store is bringing in that much of an income, but all the conflict of, I'm trying to write. Well, I'm trying to rehearse. Whoa, we're bucking heads. And it's like, you couldn't have found time where one of you had to be somewhere else. You couldn't have couldn't have said, go take a fucking walk for 2 hours.
Yeah.
The sitcom trope of, oh, we're the roommates and we can't get along. We've modified our living arrangement and it's just failing.
Well, David, I think there was an extra level of trying to make it seem more claustrophobic than it was. And it began with them stepping over the ottoman every time they walked across the room. Rather than going around that fucking chair. Every person was directed to step and make a big deal out of it. Like, oh, this ottoman in the middle of the room. So I was wondering, were they trying to make it so like that was where the wall was? Because if that was the case, then they should have moved. I felt like they should have moved the, like when she was working on the wall, she had to go back around Natalie to get to the wall, who was sitting at the table, rather than go in front of the table. You know what I mean? Like nobody on the Golden Girls ever walked in front of the table.
True.
In the kitchen,
Yeah.
So it was like they seemed to work very hard to make it look much more claustrophobic than it actually was, I think. And I did count the steps. Like it took about 8 steps to get across from the front door to the kitchen. So I count the steps.
You've told me that before. So how many steps does it take to get across the Golden Girls kitchen?
Across the Golden Girls kitchen, they can get from the door to the stove in 4 steps.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
That's tiny.
Yeah. It's not as big as, but like it's about 12 steps from the kitchen to the front door at the Golden Girls house. But it was taken about, like some people made it in 7, it was 8. Like, so it was like the whole apartment is the size of my living room.
Yeah. Which is not that, I mean, that's small for 2 people to be living and sleeping in, but it's not impossible for 2 people to navigate around.
No. Especially when they both have a job.
Yeah, it's like they've been living with 2 other women sharing a bedroom. They've all been working together in the kitchen at Eastland, and it's like they've been in close quarters for quite some time. So then we do get a call from Mrs. Garrett. This is where they clearly pre-taped something with Charlotte Rae, where she is in this random kitchen. So we assume it's the family kitchen on the farm in Appleton. So we do get that, and they talk to her, and they feel the need they have to lie about it. It's like, Natalie, pick up the extension, and Natalie taps the phone with her pen. Funny moment, timed.
That was a
perfectly.
good bit. That was a good bit.
Yeah. But Mrs. Garrett basically just says, it's pretty cool. And by the way, the best thing for cockroaches is boric acid. So they hang up the phone and they're like,
she knows.
She knows it's a shithole. Yeah. Then Blair and Joe come by. And of course, Blair and Joe are finally the people who are like, what the fuck? But they're being nice for their friends, even as blunt as Joe is. Joe is making some commentary, but they're not. They're just commenting. They're not judging. But there is a sense of, we're alone right now at the house/store. Natalie, if you needed a moment alone, 40 years from now, people are all going to be typing and writing in coffee shops with hundreds of people in them with headphones on. Headphones exist right now. Put on your Walkman, sit at one of the little cafe tables in the store. And
it's not like we have customers.
Yeah.
You can go into that shop anytime you want. Have a seat, Matt.
True.
And it's what? They're probably in Brooklyn, so there's like a coffee shop on every corner.
Yeah.
Are they in Brooklyn? Because she's
No.
got to fucking do her shifts at the shop. She's getting on a train from Brooklyn to Peekskill to work a 4-hour shift at a Spencer Gifts and Peeks. Come on.
No. They're just on the other side of town. They're just
established that and said, we're just across town. But they really made it seem, and I get it, David, I haven't seen you in person in a year. So, and you do live right across town. And I've never met Daniel, and we've lived in the same town practically, Daniel.
So Blair and Joe put on the best face they can. And at one point, Tootie and Natalie say, well, why don't you come over for dinner some night? This place has a lot more charm at night. And I think it was Blair that says, that's what this place needs, more shadow.
Yeah. Nice.
But then as soon as Blair and Joe leave, Tootie and Natalie just start the fighting again. And that's how we go to commercial with Natalie picking up the heart-lung machine-sized typewriter and storming out of the apartment.
Yeah, that fight just like escalated quickly out of nowhere.
Yeah. And yeah, so with that commercial, it's
but
just
I
like,
understand you're dealing with like a 30-minute sitcom time frame, but still, it's just like blown up, all out of proportion in a matter of seconds.
Yep. Well, while we're at commercial, Dan, this is where we like to get to know our guest a little bit better.
All right, what do you want to know?
I was thinking we could do a brief Mick Tour travelogue, as it were, through your life and your career.
Oh.
So, Dan, where were you born?
I was born at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. It's at the Army base there. I was an Army brat.
So how many places did you live as a child then?
Not many. When I was 3 years old, we moved to Germany. So I lived in Germany for a little bit until I was 5. And then we moved here to Orlando from Germany. And I've been in Orlando area ever since. So, yeah.
Oh, so you're kind of a local. This is your place. Where did you go to high school?
So I went to high school, Lake Mary High School.
Lake Mary?
Grew up in Seminole County. Yeah. So, went to all the schools in Seminole County pretty much because we kept on getting redistricted. So, but went to Lake Mary High School, went to UCF after that, got a degree in theater at UCF, and had the plans of being a teacher. But first I wanted to do grad school. But then I got hired at Disney as an actor and have been in theme parks ever since. So that kind of ruined my plans.
Yeah, you kind of skipped over the whole the struggle of working your way up the ranks. Now, I know you primarily are at Universal these days. I know you were a 6 bits at Hoop-Dee-Doo. What other roles did you do at Disney?
Yeah, the first thing I got hired for was the World Showcase Players at Epcot.
Oh, of course.
Doing World Showcase Players, and then I did Dreamfinder, and then went over to the studios where I did Indiana Jones and Hunchback and the old Superstar TV show.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Yeah, and then Hoop-Dee-Doo was the last thing, and then left to do Disney Cruise Line for 9 years. And did all the shows on the ship for about 9 years, and
that's a long
time.
Then, Jesus.
Yeah. So then in 2012, came back to town and got hired at Universal.
Nice. And at Universal, we are at Horror Makeup together. You also do Blues Brothers.
Did Blues Brothers and Atmosphere, like the troupe at Port of Entry, or Cabby. That's what I'm doing, the Cabby now. So yeah.
So the other thing I want to talk about is your film career, insofar as my tens of listeners will be delighted to know that they can see my very guest right here, Dan Johnson, in the recent big studio release, The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
That's right. I play Tammy Faye's childhood preacher. I guess the kind of guy that started her on her path.
Mm-hmm.
You are like the origin story of Tammy Faye Baker Mesner.
So true. And previous to that, you had been on.
There was a Bloodline, a Netflix show called Bloodline that was
Bloodline. That's right.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I did a couple episodes of The Walking Dead where I got to play a bad guy and kill a couple people. Then I got killed. And also a Netflix movie with Marlon Wayans called Naked.
Were you?
I wasn't, but he was.
Okay.
Did you see it?
No, it was a very, very small little piece of cloth that covered his goodies. So
how small was that piece of cloth?
It was small. And then it did a one season lasted, which is kind of disappointing of a show that I thought would take off, called Sun Records, which was that was the first TV show I did. I played vice president of RCA Records, and it's written by the guys that did the Broadway show $1 Million Quartet.
Oh,
which is I don't know if you're familiar with that show.
Yes,
Elvis
yes,
and these guys get together and record an album, and so they turn it into a TV show, which is kind of like about the beginnings of rock and roll.
So dare I say then, Daniel, that you are very much like the wonderful Lou Leonard, who went on this episode with the hopes and dreams that it would become a spinoff and run. And much like Lou Leonard, you found yourself disappointed after one episode. Oh, that's a shame.
And living in a shithole.
I know. Yep. And still working at the parks.
Do you have any cats?
I do not.
No, because I'm always looking for somebody to go halvesies on litter, which is interesting. I hope, I mean, I'm not trying to interrupt, but we're not just going to leave. We're just not going to drop that Eyes of Tammy Faye thing and then like skirt past it, are we? I mean, I have questions.
Okay. Well, it'll be out. I think it's already out of the theaters. There's only limited release. But just so, and my mom just texted me actually before we started here, it will be on video and Prime and iTunes. I think November 2nd, starting then. So,
What else did you want to ask, Matthew?
What was that set like?
It was awesome. It was amazing.
Did you see What's Her Pussy, who was playing Tammy Faye?
Jessica Chastain.
I did, but I did not see her because my scenes were dealt with her as a little kid. So she was there in the producer's tent. So she was there out of makeup, watching the takes. I did see, but they did do like a makeup and wardrobe test for Andrew Garfield while we were shooting. So he showed up in his wardrobe and makeup, and it was eerie how much he looks like Jim Baker.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody will ever play it quite as well as Kevin Spacey did in the TV movie Fall from Grace.
I did not see that.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Now, is that the one with Bernadette Peters?
Bernadette Peters plays Tammy Faye and does her own singing. So
I did not see that. What?
You get some amazing Tammy Faye songs actually sung by an amazing voice.
I mean,
wow.
Yeah.
But okay.
My scenes were with Cherry Jones though, and she was wonderful.
I mean, force
Cherry
of
Jones
nature.
wonderful.
Jesus.
Yes.
That's great.
Cherry Jones plays Tammy Faye's mom. And,
isn't that interesting? What a widespread, because I remember her as Punky Brewster's friend. So
Cherry Jones?
Cherry Jones?
Her friend's name was Cherry, wasn't it?
But no. Oh. Cherry Jones, Matthew, is the veteran actress who was in.
She played the president on 24.
No, that was Gina Davis.
She was in Transparent. She played the professor of.
That was the wonderful Jeffrey Tambor in Transparent.
No. Jeffrey Tambor was the trans woman. I'm talking the lesbian professor who has an affair with her student, played by the wonderful Gabby Hoffman and her formidable eyebrows.
No, you're thinking of Jackie Hoffman. No, you're thinking of Dustin Hoffman. He was one of the most unattractive women.
Okay, stop. We only have 14 hours. Anyway, I am so thrilled that you are giving me the gift of your time. Absolutely. To be here with us to watch this show and this episode and continue on our journey through all the episodes of Facts of Life. And I love introducing my tens of listeners to the vast array of multifaceted talent we have in Central Florida. We got a fucking movie star here, people.
Nah.
David, this must be nice for you to have two people who are so good at the same time,
Oh, bless.
Carrying the load of the show is less on me now this week, Daniel, and I thank you for
Jesus
it.
Christ.
I'm glad I could help out.
Yeah. Matthew always loves it when a man helps him lighten his load.
Oh.
So we come back from commercial.
Movie star Zaddy.
So we come back from commercial, and it's the moment right after Natalie has stormed out the door, carrying her refrigerator of a typewriter. And she's like, wait a minute, this is my apartment. You go fuck yourself and get out of here.
Exactly. That's what I would have done.
She says, my name is on the lease. It's like, it's true. She got the apartment, and Tootie, you're 17. Your name can't be on a lease. It's in Natalie's name. She should kick your ass out. And you should say thank you and go back and live at the house. Jesus. Or go live in DC with your parents, like I already said. Okay, I'm not gonna belabor this. I'm not gonna belabor it. Anyway, then we go to the house, the Facts of Life house, and we see Blair and Joe in the bedroom.
What an odd looking bedroom. I don't remember that bedroom looking like that.
Well, they've changed the furniture. Apparently, Blair now thinks she's Marie fucking Antoinette and has upgraded all of the furniture with all these ornate plush tufted headboards.
Oh, so it didn't always look like that. See, I don't know. Yeah, so I didn't know. Okay, all right. Good to know.
Yeah, apparently Blair is going back to the Edwardian, Georgian, Rococo Renaissance era of furniture, and she's playing Paul Bell's Canon as this very quaint classical music, and Joe is attempting to row on a rowing machine that we have never seen before, by the way. Where did this rowing machine come from?
She couldn't bring it out, David. It was the cramped room. There were 4 girls in that room. Come on. She couldn't pull out a rowing machine.
Anyway, there's trouble in paradise. Blair and Joe.
Yeah, because Blair has pushed the beds together. I'd like it known. Oh, Joe. Look, if you lay here, your head will be right where my head is. Oh, look, Joe.
Yeah. So interesting that Blair is the one driving all of this. But yeah, Blair is now in this, would you talk to me, please? We never talk anymore. Let's chat. And they have some stilted, uncomfortable dialogue. And then one of the things they mention is we got a postcard from Mrs. Garrett from the farm. But that's really about all the scene does. It just says that Blair and Joe are alone, not watching the store. And it's...
Give a little bit of credit where credit is due. That was a pretty good comedic moment between those two when she was like, the Mets won. Oh, good for them. There was some good stuff. Oh, it's my agent says it's better to sell now. Oh, keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on. There was some good comedy moments between those two, I thought, that were kind of delightful.
I will say that they did sell it and used their talents to the nth degree to turn this sow's ear into a silk purse. And then the next scene, we go back to the apartment. Estelle comes in trying to borrow some Raid, but they're all out. Then the super comes in, and the girls are preparing for this dinner that they're going to be making for Blair and Joe. And the super central casting basically said, psychopath. Like, this guy could have been a serial killer. Very weird. He has a very, very high hairline, curly hair, and they've just fluffed it out. And they even comment on it. This abnormally large tuft of hair. The character is Lenny. The actor is Eugene Leibowitz. And in 1987, he would go on to be the head writer for the Will Schreiner Show, syndicated talk show with comedian Will Schreiner.
Wow.
I've done some performances at some Shriners conventions that I am not proud of. Let's just say that hat doesn't only fit on one's head. All right. And you try coming up with more than one limerick that rhymes with fez. Anyway.
Other than that, he's only got 7 acting credits and 7 writing credits. Not a lot going on here. So I don't know what he actually made his living. Last minute
replacement for somebody? I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. You'd think that there was a lot of, God, there were so many serial killer movies. You would think that they could have found some more, or, psychotic clown roles or something. But anyhow, he comes in to tell them they're shutting off the water. And it's like, oh, fuck, we need water to boil the pasta. That's what we're making for dinner. Water's already off. Well, shit. So then we cut to
That's
the dining
probably
room.
a good thing. I don't think I would have been able to trust the water that came out of that pipe. It's probably just saved their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. At least it would have been boiled. So most of the impurities would have been gone. But then we cut to, well, thank you for a delicious dinner. And we zoom out. They're back at the house. Blair and Joe ended up hosting. Costume note, Tootie is wearing koala blue again. Not the same outfit she had on before, but Dan, the logo that she has on, koala blue, that was Olivia Newton-John's line of active and casual wear that she had.
I did not know that
in the 80s. I didn't either.
Yes.
It was one of my listeners who pointed it out to me. So Tootie and Blair stay downstairs. Joe takes Natalie upstairs to show her the changes in the bedroom. So we get each of the girls in a different pairing.
Joe and Natalie go upstairs so Natalie can take, and I quote, my first real shower in 10 days.
Yeah. That I thought about that too.
I was like,
because
wow.
they clearly have not been in their own bathroom since they moved in.
I have two jokes. I don't know which one you're going to want to use.
Give me them both.
So I'm going to give them both to you. They go upstairs for, and I quote, my first shower in 10 days. And you're worried about a woman with 5 cats living above you? That's joke number 1. Here's my second one. And it's a little more of a thinker, I guess. My first shower in 10 days. I'd be worried about being attacked by those 5 cats living upstairs from the smell coming between your legs, Natalie.
Perfect. I think use both of them.
I think I have to use both of them also. Oh my God. But yeah, exactly. But it's a great apartment. It's, hey, we're there and we're doing the thing and living the dream. So cool. But yeah. So it's just, we get the two girls in pairings where it's like, this isn't working out as well as I thought it was. And so it's like, guys, you're already here. Why don't you spend the night? The water's probably not turned back on. So they do. And Matthew is just bursting with happiness.
Everything's back to the way it should be. The girls are back together. Joe says she's better at gang chats. I don't know what that means. But the girls are back together. And
the lesson is, don't chase your dreams.
There it is.
There it is.
Stay home where it's safe. That's the lesson in The Wizard of Oz, isn't it? If you got to look beyond your own backyard, it ain't worth going for.
Man. Yeah, when Blair is complaining that Joe won't talk to her, Joe finally is like, I'm not ignoring you. I'm lousy at small talk when it's one-on-one. I'm better at gang chats. Yeah. I've never heard the word gang, and I'm a chatty person. I don't know if you know this about me, but I do enjoy talking. I've never heard the term gang chat. Had I known, or if there was a club I could join, if I could get a word in, But
I love that I didn't even realize until Daniel said it that the actual point of the episode is don't follow your dreams.
I know. It's genius.
Yeah,
it's freaking amazing.
That's the lesson that they're telling people. I mean,
it's perfect assessment. Yeah. So yeah, to wrap up this, the girls are just, it's like, you move back. Yeah, okay, fine. Stay another night. Stay another week. Stay another year. And they're like, okay. And then they say to Tootie, I thought you wanted grit. And Tootie says, we've done grit. We're ready for the next phase. Comfort. So then, because
a week and a half, that's plenty. A week and a half. I get it. Yeah. I get it, world. Mm-hmm. You can be a horrible, cruel world. I get it.
So then Natalie starts to read the story that she woke up and was inspired to write, because for the first time in this week and a half, the inspiration that she thought she was going to get from living on her own and never came, she has it now back at the house. So the episode ends with Natalie reading her story to the girls. And Dan, do you remember how it starts?
No.
Oh, Matthew, Do you remember how it starts?
Oh God, doesn't it start? It was a dark and stormy night.
Worse.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Yes, you sir are correct.
Yes. So she totally plagiarized.
What a great writer now.
Is that Tolstoy?
I feel like it's isn't that
War and Peace? Isn't that War and
Wasn't
Peace?
it Dickens? It was Dickens. It's Great Expectations. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And the only reason I know that is because in the episode of The Golden Girls, where Dorothy is going to pass or fail the star quarterback, who was played by the wonderful boy who played Greg Brady in the wonderful 1995 film, The Brady Bunch. He broke his leg and she sits down and she goes, "We're going to read Great Expectations." It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And it's just one of those great B. Arthur line readings. That's the only reason I know that.
Oh, bless.
And please, if I'm wrong, God.
That's why the work we do on this podcast is important, because sitcoms educate.
That's right.
Oh, shit. It's not Great Expectations. It's A Tale of Two Cities.
Tale of Two Titties. Oh. Damn it.
Who wrote that?
Charles Dickens.
It was Dickens. Okay. You were right with the
Still
Dickens.
Though. All right.
Yeah. So there it is. We are now at the end, and that which was wrong has been set right again. We can begin season 8 secure in the knowledge that our 4 girls are still living together. Matthew's going to cry.
It was like slipping into a warm slipper at the end. The way they just curled up and cozied up. It was like laying in a pool of cats.
Yeah. Final analysis, final review, final words. Dan Johnson.
Okay. Don't have me watch another episode, please. Get back with me when you start doing a podcast about Star Trek.
I think you're the first person in the history to ever be that honest.
Most people are like, "Oh, David, this was fun. Maybe we'll have you back." Oh yeah, that might happen.
Like I said earlier, I did watch the show regularly when I was a kid, and I loved it. Haven't seen it since.
Yeah, doesn't age well, does it?
It's kind of like it doesn't, and it's kind of like this because I was also a fan of The Greatest American Hero when I was a kid, when that show was on, and I made the mistake of going out and getting the DVDs when they first came out, like about 10 years ago, and I started watching it, and I was like, "Holy crap, this show sucks."
Oh yeah,
I should have just kept the fantasy in my head.
That is why I am against reboots of stuff.
No,
you don't want to see fucking 80-year-old Sarah Jessica Parker hauling her cookies down Fifth Avenue in a pair of high heels. She is hundreds of years old. Yeah. But I will say this about that. None of these sitcoms in the 80s were meant to hold up to anything. They were pumping these out. Yeah. And for Christ's sake, Mr. Belvedere did an AIDS episode. For Christ, you think that's not cringeworthy to watch now? For Christ's sake?
Yeah.
And Alf, for Christ's sake. I lived for Alf. It's horrific to sit through. Now, it's just all these humans setting a fucking puppet up for a joke. Every sentence is, "Here's the ball on the tee." Alf knocks the ball out of the park. It's just insane. So I'm trying to not watch this with such critical eyes and enjoying the things like an 80-pound electric typewriter, for Christ's sake. It's like she's carrying, it's literally, kids, for those that don't know, it was like carrying a microwave around, basically.
It was all steel, mechanical, everything. It was, oh my God, it was so
think about moving your microwave every time you wanted to go right, for Christ's sake.
Where did she think she was going to go with that thing when she walked out of the apartment? Where did she think she was going to go?
I do not know.
These are the things that go through my head when I watch it.
No, but you're not wrong. I mean, you hear how I'm analyzing this stuff.
But as an adult, we watch this having rented apartments now. We watch this with different eyes than we did then. I mean, now as an adult, I think, where was she going? Without panties, without a purse, nothing. She just fucking take off with your keyboard. All right,
Yeah.
nah.
Her 10 days dirty.
Yeah. Go look for fucking power outlet to fucking plug in so you can write a little bit. Oh, God. Anyway,
Well,
it's fun to watch.
yes. So do you want to ask our final question before we send Dan on his way, Matthew?
Well, I think we know it was Star Trek, but you said you were watching this. What was the big show for the wonderful Dan Johnson? And I hope it was Miami Vice because his name was Don Johnson.
Oh, God, I heard that so many times when I was a kid.
I'm nothing if not a cliche.
So what was my show back then is your question?
Yeah. What was your appointment television that you were watching in the 80s?
There was a lot. I was a latchkey kid, so I was home watching TV. That TV was my parent when I was a kid. So
just give us like your top three from prime time.
Okay. Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Magnum PI.
Oh, yeah.
And this doesn't fit at all, but Fame.
Oh.
I love the old TV show Fame. Yeah.
I never watched Fame.
And I dare say Magnum PI was far enough back that it has almost moved into timeless, I think. Because, I mean, yes, the jean shorts are ridiculous, but anymore in 2021, what is it? A little bit ridiculous and what people wear. So it's like him running around and his shirt open and those hairy chest out and his little jean shorts, you know. If people aren't mad at it as much as they are, you know, 8 pairs of shoulder pads.
And Tom Selleck is one of those people where it's like he needs the mustache. He don't look right without it.
No, true.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for giving us your time and for doing this show. It has been super fun. I am a firm believer that regardless of the quality, in fact, if the show is lousy, that makes it more fun to share and discuss with friends.
Absolutely.
And that's the realm we're getting into many of the weeks now that we're in these later seasons of The Facts of Life. So I'm really happy to have had you here to add to the joy and the merriment in our disenjoyment of this episode.
Thank you for inviting me. And if you want me to come back again, my number is 555-1234.
Okay. Is that a new number? I'm writing. I'm going to put that in my phone.
I'm sure I'll pick up. Yeah.
Okay. Let me put that in my phone. And I don't need the area code, right?
Nope. I have one of those old timey numbers where you don't need it. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, though, you know, I did enjoy this. I might rip on it and everything, but I enjoyed it.
You didn't enjoy the show, but hopefully you enjoyed this. That's really more what I'm concerned with. So, yeah. So thank you again so much. Smooches, my dear, and goodbye. Mwah.
Bye.
And there you have it. That was Dan Johnson. One thing about the show that I forgot to mention, there's a little pet peeve I have in both television and on stage, and to a lesser extent in the movies. But when Blair and Joe show up to visit Tootie and Natalie, neither of them has a purse. Joe, of course, I would expect would be carrying stuff in her pockets, the way she dresses and all that. But Blair just walks in with the clothes on her back. Come on. Blair would carry a purse. Blair would have her cosmetics. She would have stuff with her. That's very much her character. And that always surprises me. And I'm never sure if it's a props fail or a costume fail. Because of our close personal friend Diana Eden being the costumer, I'm going to say that was a props fail. That is it for season 7, people. This is insane that we are through 7 out of the 9 seasons. My brain is mush right now. So I am going to be taking a couple of weeks off. There will be shows dropping, and I'm not going to tell you what they're going to be. You're just going to have to see what it is and be surprised the next couple of Wednesdays. I think it's going to be 2 weeks. We'll see how I feel. But definitely needing to take a little bit of a break before we jump back into Season 8, Episode 1, called Out of Peekskill Part 1. I will post links to the episode in the show notes and on this episode's webpage. And of course, the beginning of any season will come with all of our pop culture analysis, updates, and commentary. And just the last thing to remember before we wrap up Season 7, I think Dan Johnson said it best. Don't follow your dreams. And remember, the facts of life are all about you.
Let's Face the Facts was created, produced, written, hosted, and edited by the wonderful David Almeida. Our theme song was beautifully arranged and recorded by Ned Wilkinson. Please visit FaceTheFactsPod.com for supplemental photos and videos, links to social media, and ways that you can support the show. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This is Matthew Arder saying tune in again next week for another thrilling episode of Let's Face the Facts.